Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Leader Class Decepticon Shockwave from Transformers Siege War for Cybertron Trilogy. This guy is kind of dinky looking in this giant box, I have to admit. A lot of people have kind of complained that he's a little bit small for a Leader Class, and I kind of agree, but we'll take a closer look when we get this guy out of the box. Really awesome artwork here on the side. I absolutely love that. I think that looks fantastic. Taking a look on this side, it's the same artwork that's on the side of all the boxes. Still cool, but we've seen it already. Not really anything going on in the bottom. Nothing really going on the top. Spin it around to the back. Just shows the kind of souped up armor mode, the vehicle mode, and then the robot with all the armor put together to form this kind of like sky sled drone type form, which I think is really cool, but we'll get to that as well. And then of course it just shows off Ultra Magnus also being available. So that's pretty much it for the packaging here. Gonna go ahead and get this guy out of the box so we can take a closer look. Here is Shockwave out of the packaging. He does come all armored up, just like Magnus did. Although his armor is very, very simple to take on and off. I don't know. This whole thing with the extra arms on the side just looks weird to me, only because when you have one arm that's a hand and one arm that's a gun, it looks okay. But then when you have three guns and one arm, it just looks so out of place. And I just think that looks really goofy to me. I don't know. I think the armor just doesn't really work. I mean, this is obviously like the side of his legs, so it looks like he has legs sticking off his shoulders. I'm not really sure what they're going for. I don't know. The armor mode I'm just not a huge fan of. And also, just for a quick size comparison with Magnus, they are kind of the same size as far as like the shoulders and this thing on his back. But Magnus definitely looks bigger, chunkier, more substantial as far as both of these guys being leaders. Now, I understand with the armor and everything, with what they're going for, this is how the leaders apparently are going to work. I don't know if all the leaders going forward will always have armor you can take on and off. We'll have to wait and see. But just putting them next to each other, I think this guy looks like such a more substantial leader class figure than this one, which to me just really looks like he took a good Voyager class figure and slapped some stuff on him in an attempt to, you know, scam an extra 15 to 20 bucks out of us. But what are you going to do? Let's go ahead and let's get into his articulation here. So the head is on a ball joint. You can do a little side to side, front to back, and it has light piping, which is really cool. I think that's neat. With the arms here, so the shoulder can go up and down. It can obviously go front to back. With the extra armor piece, you have like a joint that kind of goes in and out, but can also spin around, and then you also have like an extra elbow joint. So these little things can move around and shoot lasers all over the place. You can use the little effect pieces on these. So if you want to put that on the end, and that will work with any one of those, as they're all pretty much the same. Also, these weird nubs that I still maintain, it's weird to have a shoulder just explode. I don't know why that would do that, but anywhere you see those little nubs, you can also do it. So cool little effect pieces. And of course, he can, in his one hand, hold any of these Battle Masters here. And then also the Micromaster weapons. So he could also wield the Micromaster Star Saber, for lack of a better term. But yeah, so anyway, so all those elbows and arms are pretty much the same with the bicep swivel, the elbow joint. This does have a turn in the wrist. And it's kind of funny, like you would think the wrist turn would be here, but it's actually where the two different color plastics meet. You do have a waist swivel. You have a really nice out to the side and tight forward and back ratchet. Thighs swivel, pretty tight knee ratchet as well. And then you have a ankle tilt. So that, and I feel like the ankle tilt is really comes into play with the feet. Because when you put these extra pieces on and you kind of spread them out, you definitely want them to be able to tilt so that they sit flat. You have these big gun shoes. Hashtag gun shoes. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, it really just feels like what this really feels like, and this is kind of the way I'm going to think about it when we do the drone mode later on. It's kind of like the drone mode is like his sidekick, and then the two of them have a combined mode. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it, because whereas Magnus feels like a complete robot when he's in both modes, really, like the White Optimus mode is cool, but like with the trailer feels like his complete robot mode. This really just feels like a battleizer, like a power-up. Like just something you would throw on quick to get a little burst of energy and firepower, and then you take it off again. Like it's not meant to be his actual transformed mode like Magnus's is, if that makes any sense. I'm going to go ahead and take the armor off so you can see what the normal robot mode looks like. Come around to the back here. And these pieces, they can hang straight down if you would prefer. I kind of just like to put them out to the side. A little bit of flare just makes it look a little better in my opinion. Plus, they're not in the way then. But basically, these whole side pieces lift up on a hinge and lift right off. Because this peg right here pegs into the side here. And I do apologize. It's going to be kind of hard to see some of the stuff. He is a very dark purple. I feel like they went with the original toy color scheme, as Hasbro is kind of known to do. It's kind of funny. Takara always leans toward the animation color scheme, whereas Hasbro leans toward the original toy color scheme, and they're not usually the same. I kind of like my Shockwave to be a little bit lighter purple. I don't hate this or anything like that, but I just I like the little bit lighter purple in my opinion. But he's definitely a super dark, like violet, plum color even. As far as taking the rest of the armor off, you're going to just straight unpeg the shoulders. Just pull them out. Now, it's a little difficult because they both have these pegs. You can see that there's a tiny little peg on the shoulder here. And let me get a little bit closer so you can see. Move the camera up. There we go. And that's a little bit difficult to just kind of like, once you unpeg, you can see that there's a peg inside here, and it just pegs into the side of the shoulder there. So when you're pulling it off, you just have to be a little careful because the inside, there's like a lip in here that always catches on that. And it does it on both of these. It's kind of annoying. So you just pull this off and then make sure you clear that. There we go. That was much easier. Put this stuff off to the side. So you can see we're kind of getting towards a normal looking Shockwave figure here. And then you're just going to take off his gun boots. Gun shoes, rather. All right. And then here you go. Put all this stuff off to the side, and you're left with a normal-looking Shockwave figure. So I have to say, I really do like the look of the normal Shockwave figure. I mean, he's got all the same articulation because, you know, at the core, it's the same figure. Much less kibble now. Just got this pretty solid-looking backpack here, which really doesn't bother me at all. And now we're back to, you know, the one gun hand, the one normal hand. He looks good. I still wish he was a little bit lighter purple, but that's just me. For a size comparison, here is Megatron. So you can kind of see that even next to a Voyager, he doesn't quite fit. So I just feel like Shockwave can't really find his place. With his armor on, he's not quite a leader. Without his armor on, he's not quite a Voyager. He's just it's a lonely Transformer wandering alone, trying to find his size class. But he looks good as a subordinate to Megatron. It does make sense to me that Megatron should be kind of the biggest, beefiest of all the Voyagers, being the leader. So I feel like he looks good as a subordinate to Megatron here, so I like that. We'll have to see how he measures up once Starscream comes out. But yeah, I do like the look of him. As a Shockwave, I think he looks good. I just think he's a little tiny. I feel like they could have upsized this a little bit, and then the armor would have been upsized a little bit to match. And that might have made everything gel and work, and everything would be a little bit more in proportion. But I'm guessing, you know, budgetary things, and there are reasons they need to make things the size that they do. But overall, I like this guy. I love the Decepticon symbols painted on his forearms there. And I do love that light piping. I think that was a really nice touch. But yeah, overall, I like him. I like him as a robot. I like him better without the armor, I will admit. The armor's okay. In my head canon, like I said, this is how he would normally be, and then like in a battle he might call upon the armor temporarily as like a power-up and then dismiss it. I don't know, this guy's basically a Power Ranger now in my canon. He's his Battleizer. But let me show you one other thing that we can do with all of these extra bits that we have. So you can put these all together and form kind of a drone. While it doesn't show you how to do this in the instructions, it is pictured on the back of the packaging. So I'm just kind of winging this. This is literally just what I'm trying to put together based on what I'm seeing on the back of the packaging. But, you know, I guess it's a little bit of a fan mode. I don't really know. But you take the 2 feet, peg them together. They do have a peg back here. So once you put those together, keep those wings up. Come around here and you'll see that there are 2 pegs right here and here. And you're going to peg them on right here and here. Now, I tried to do it on this way, but obviously these pieces get in the way. If you leave them on the inside, I guess you could do it this way, but I don't really feel like there's any super benefit. And I kind of like having this on the bottom and having extra guns. So I'm just going to go ahead and peg them into the top. And you will kind of have to put these guns a little bit inside to be able to do this. And then you just go ahead and peg them on like that. And then you take these things and you bring them in, and you have, it's very hard to see again because it's so dark, but there's a little peg, a rectangular peg there, and a little peg hole right there. So when you put these up, that'll kind of gently click into place, and you may have heard it actually click. And then you just take these and you peg them into the side right here, right here. There you go. And that gives his little drone mode, which I kind of like the look of that. I think it's fun, especially since this thing on the front kind of looks like an eye. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that little helper drone Megatron had in Beast Machines. Obviously, that guy had like weird like wings, but he had kind of similar type hands, and I don't know, it just kind of reminds me of that. And these can rotate. There's not really a reason to, but they can. But anyway, so then the box art depicts him kind of surfing on the drone, which I guess he could technically do, although he can fly on his own. I kind of envision him just kind of like sending this guy on surveillance missions and things like that. And then, like I said, when he needs additional firepower, it's almost like God Bomber. He just detaches, becomes armor, and clips on top. But he's definitely not as cool as God Bomber. But I think that's kind of neat, that you can have this kind of little drone mode. But let's go ahead and let's work on this guy's transformation. Transformation is shockingly simple. See what I did there? Dad jokes. Anyway, you open up the chest. Go ahead and pop this in, and then pop this back in. And that will close up like that. You're going to unpeg this from the side. And if you really wanted, you could peg this like on the side of the arm if you like that better. But it's meant to plug in. Oh, apparently it's not meant to because it's super tight. There we go. It's meant to plug in underneath on the arm. But you go ahead, you lift this up. This kind of unpegs and then comes all the way out like this. And then you lift up this whole section. Just like that. Now you're going to bring the arms all the way up. Just all the way up as much as you can. Let me zoom out a bit. So you bring the arms straight up. Just like that. Push them all the way in and then close this back around it. So really all that does is hide the arms inside this front section. At this point you come down to the legs, you spin them 180 degrees at the thigh swivel. You come to the inside and these will actually unpeg and then spin up 180 degrees, so unlock that 180 degrees. Then you're going to just kind of straighten out the legs. Make sure everything's kind of straight. And then just peg everything together. Peg the legs together. Peg these two pieces together. Like that. Oh, you know what? I forgot to do something. Disregard that step. Disregard that step. Unpeg these. Unpeg these. you have to, these guys work like Combiner Wars legs. So you have to slide this in and then do the same with the other leg. There we go. And then you peg everything together. That looks right. I was like, why is this so far away? All right, then once that's all pegged together, you can see that tab right there. It's going to tab in right here in his abdomen, right there. So this just comes forward and tabs in right there. Then you take this and you plug that into the side like that. So here you go. Here is his totally not gun mode. Oh wait, it's a submarine. I'm just holding it upside down. I don't understand why we still can't acknowledge that this guy used to be a futuristic gun, and now we have to make him into a submarine. We saw this with Six Shot in Titan's Return. I don't know why this is a thing. Anyway, here is the sub mode, which I'm just going to call gun mode. It's very simplistic. As you saw, the transformation, very easy to do. If you want, you can kind of try to stretch this to the back here, or plug this in maybe up front here to the front of the gun, but it's stretching it quite a little bit. But you can kind of pretend like that's a handle, but it's very short, which I think they made it short on purpose so that you couldn't quite grab it as a gun. But it does kind of look like a gun. The other thing I've seen is you can take the arm and spin this 180 degrees, because he does have those pegs on the outside of his shoulders for the armor, and you could plug this into that, but then it might look a little weird, like there'd be extra space in here, so I'm just not going to bother. But there is a little bit of customization I've seen people do online to make it look more like a gun. It kind of looks like a gun. I think this definitely looks neat up here in the front, little futuristic barrel going on there. But yeah, technically it's a submarine. Oh well. What we can do is disassemble our drone and attach him to this to make the ultimate battleship mode. So I've gone ahead and disassembled the drone. This stuff's very easy to clip on. You're just going to put this here on the front, and those pegs on the side will peg in just like they did for the armor mode. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to make sure that this is off to the side a little bit more. So peg this in, peg in, peg in. This on the side here, there is a very tiny little slit right there, and there is a tiny little peg right there. So those will come in and peg in to shore that up a little bit more. And for some reason, this one doesn't always want to line up, because it's like once you do one side, you need to stretch it to make the other side work. Then these two will come in and peg into each other. No, do not come unpegged. There you go. That, and then that will be the whole pretty much front of this battleship mode. So there you go. The rest of this is super, super simple. You're going to take these big pieces, and you'll see that there is a circle peg and then a rectangle peg, circle peg, rectangle peg. Just line that up. There's one. There's two. Then you come to these, put the wings straight out, come around over here, and just peg this in. You can see that there's a tiny peg hole and a large peg hole, tiny peg, large peg. Go ahead and pop those on. You sometimes have to use a little bit of force to get this to go. And then you just do the same thing with the other side. Very easily, just pop that on. And then there you go. You are left with the ultimate battleship mode. I gotta be honest, I actually don't hate this. I really thought I would. I think it works much better than the submarine mode on its own. I think with this stuff tricked out, it definitely looks more like some kind of space battleship. Kind of almost reminds me of Cyclonus. I think it's mostly the color scheme and just the kind of overall T shape of the vehicle mode. But it's actually not bad, because now this thing not being super tall makes a little bit more sense. And I think it's funny that this also has light piping. It's like his head just changes orientation in this mode. So now his head's just on top of this little spire up here. But I do think that these extra cannons on the side do flesh it out a little bit. And yeah, it's not bad. It's still not an amazing mode. I know this is the kind of stuff they run into with, you know, guys that used to be guns and things. They need to come up with new wacky alt modes for them. But I actually don't hate this. I thought I was going to, but it works out a little bit better than I expected. At the end of the day, I definitely think that this guy is still worth picking up. I really do like the Unarmored Shockwave robot mode. That's very G1 to me. I think it looks fantastic. I love the little wire that goes from the backpack into his gun. I do wish he was a little bit lighter purple, but that's just because I kind of like the animation colors more than the original toy colors. But I understand why he is the kind of darker plum color that he is. Still looks good. I love the light piping on the eye. I think that's really cool. His alt mode, the quote-unquote submarine mode, is all right. If you turn it upside down, it does look like his original G1 gun mode. I wish that the handle part, or what I guess is technically the tower in the submarine mode, was a little bit longer so you could actually hold it like a gun, but Hasbro's trying to get away from that, so I don't know. I don't know why. But I think the drone is kind of fun. I like that you can assemble all the extra pieces to kind of make this drone, especially with that front piece kind of looking like one giant eye. I think that really works. I just kind of envision him sending this guy out on like espionage missions and recording things with that giant eye. Just kind of, I think that's fun. The armored up giant fortress mode for his alt mode, I think works. I think that's the better of the two alt modes. I think that actually does look kind of cool when you combine all that stuff together. That being said, the armored up robot mode, I don't think works. I think that just looks a little weird. Him having like 4 arms, 3 that look the same and 1 that doesn't, I think just looks weird and out of place. The shoulder pads looking like his feet also throws me. I don't really know what that's about. I kind of like the gun shoes. You know, that's kind of fun. But the rest of it just doesn't really work for me. Like I said, I kind of like to envision that this is his drone. And then like in a time of, you know, extra firepower or something like that, he kind of merges together temporarily like a powered up mode. But whereas Magnus, when he combines with his trailer, that's his full robot mode to me. And maybe that's just because in the G1 cartoon and the movie and whatnot, that's how he was always depicted. He wasn't just depicted as a white Optimus Prime. So the white Optimus Prime mode is kind of a bonus. Shockwave was always depicted like this. So this is Shockwave to me. The armored up mode is just like a power-up, temporary power-up or something like that. That's not the complete Shockwave. Whereas with Magnus, the trailer combination is the true and complete Magnus, if that makes any sense. I'm hoping that not every leader class is an armor situation. I'm hoping they just make good leader class toys that are just that size. I heard we're supposed to get an Omega Supreme at some point, although he might be a Titan class, depending on how big he is. Not really sure how that's going to work out. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm trying to think if we've been shown leaders for Wave 2. I think we've seen just about everything but leaders. I might be wrong about that. If you've seen pictures of leaders for Wave 2, feel free to comment below and let me know. But in the meantime, I'm getting off track. This is still a fun figure. If you could only afford one, I would say Magnus is the better of the two. Go with Magnus. If you can get both, I still think this guy's a fun figure. He looks good in this robot mode. I think the drone's fun. Just wish the color scheme was a little bit lighter. And the armored up robot mode just doesn't work. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching.